Welcome to the Yeshiva Daf Shir sponsor Luinish Basra Yakashom Neabas Yitzchok. We're holding Bo Basra Daf Samudalid. We're starting the Mishnah Namudalif. So the Mishnah. Loy Sabor Loy Sadut. The person who sells a house is not including the bor and the deuce, which is pit. I wasn't explaining what it is. Even though he wrote the top and the bottom. So we learned in the previous daf, does he actually write it? The discussion, he actually wrote it, or if he just, it means that it's included in the lashon of the house. So continues the Mishnah, it says, Rabbi Kiva says, the owner who kept for himself the bar, he needs to purchase back a pathway to get to the bar. He doesn't have to purchase a pathway. By keeping the bar himself, he's keeping also a pathway to reach the bar. He said clearly, I'm not selling you the bar. He doesn't have to buy a pathway. Because why did he say these words? These words are to include a pathway in what he keeps. He went and he sold the bar to somebody else. And when the seller sold the bar, because when he sold the bar, he sold with it also the pathway. He does have to take a derech. So the Gemara is going to explain, we'll see in the Gemara, that what's the pshat? The Pashup Pshat in the Mishnah is that Rabbi Kiva holds that when you sell as much as you can, you keep for yourself the minimum amount. And Rabbanan hold that is not selling that much. So you mean that's Av Kamina. According to the beginning of the Mishnah, he left for himself a bar, he sold everything else. And according to Rabbi Kiva, according to Chami, he left for himself a derech. And then when he sold the bar, according to Rabbi Kiva, he sold the derech too. According to Rabbi Chami, not. So the Gemara, Yosef Ravina V'Gakasha, Ravina had a problem. Hainu bor, hainu dus. What's a bor, what's a dus? Bor and dus are both pits. What's the difference? They both are something which is dug in the karka. The bor is an actual, the earth is its borders, and the dus is that you build with bricks. You create a bor with the bricks. He has the same question. That's the bor dus. Both on land. Again, the bar is the pit itself, and the dus is Yav Binyan. Now, and therefore, what? So the Rishbam, he says, let's see in the last Rishbam in the Amud, starting one line down. You'd say bor is a chafir. But dus is part. It's like the house. It's built with bricks. It's its own structure. The bor lechoshiv is not choshiv, it's just a pit. That's why I need to say both. They both took two types of pits. So you need to make a pathway. What's the machlekes? What's the machlekes of Rabbi Kiva? This is the Gemara in the Sachtadon base. So Rabbi Kiva sovar moicher be'ayin yofa moicher. Rabbi Savi moicher be'ayin ro moicher. That is exactly the machlekes. We mentioned the Mishnah. Rabbi Kiva holds a seller sells by Yafa, sells more. Rabbanan say no. But the fact throughout Shas we mentioned Rabbi Kiva when we always say, Rabbi Kiva the Shittasa, he holds moicher by Yafa moicher. What's the source? That's our source, our Mishnah. This is the classic source. So what we might. Rabbi Kiva so that ain't at the Mroitze to Moisha the Yisur Acher. So Rabbi Kiva maybe not. Maybe the reason here in the Mishnah you say that someone is selling the house, he sold also the pathway. It's not because moicher ba'ayin yofa moicher. Usually moicher maybe not ba'ayin yofa moicher. But here you're saying it's part of the sale because the buyer who's buying the house, doesn't want anybody walk here in my field. So I buy the house with the entire backyard and front yard with not leaving any pathways. Rabbanan say, one second. The owner, he has a bar. How is he supposed to get to the bar? How is he supposed to get to the pit? He's supposed to fly? Obviously not. So he gives himself a derech. That's part of the cheshbon. Usually the moicher ba'ayin yofa moicher, but not in this case. So here you have a special svar. It doesn't mean that you always say the same thing. So let me say, let's go to the next part of the Mishnah. He sold to somebody else. If he sold to somebody else, Kiva says that somebody gets a pathway as well. I wouldn't say, no, he didn't sell a pathway. What's the machlekes? If moicher ba'ayin yofa moicher. To the seller, when he sold the pit, did he sell the pathway as well? So what we do, maybe the machlekes is different. Kiva Sovar Botar Daite de Lukeach as Lina. We go based on the das of the Lukeach. We go based when you have a buyer and a seller. I'm assuming that what the buyer is saying is that's the agreement on the mechira. So the buyer, when he buys a pit, he wants the derech too. But when it's obvious, but the daite de moicher is in, I'm going based on the das of the seller, right? Let's say Tosis here is a short Geshmaka Tosis. Meaning, we have svaras over here. The seller doesn't want people. The owner of the field doesn't want people to walk in his field. The owner of the pit doesn't want to fly. So maybe these svaras work based on the buyer and seller. Meaning, why would Rabbanan say that when the seller sold everything but the bar, he kept for himself a derech, and when he sold the bar, he didn't give himself a derech? The answer is because you go based on the das of the lokeach of the moicher. So the Rabbanan, you go always based on the dat of the moicher. So the moicher always has, you go based on his svar. You have contradicting svaras. What's more important? Not to fly in the air or not to allow people trespass your property. Shaila is who is a more stronger opinion. You go based on the moicher. As the but as the taste ends, like the lekak can one be lonas, like the case of the lonas, you don't have this sort of flying or drisa. So maybe in Chanami, we will say moicher by yafa moicher or moicher by romer. We don't know. The following. You have another Mishnah. Come on. You didn't sell the pit, the gas, the shevach. Right? Gat is the winery, the shevach is the nest. Pain charivim Yeshiva doesn't matter if it's destroyed or not. The seller did not sell it. But so he didn't sell it, and he has to take for himself away. Rabbi Kiva, isn't that the exact same case we have by us? I have to mention that as well. Here's the chiddush. Here's what I'm teaching you. The fact that I have an extra case is to teach you that everybody agrees that they always go based on moicher bayin yafa moicher. Someone no, we do a shrin and bayit v'kashrin on sodi, because on sodi. Maybe I have to give you a case of a house and a case of a field. V'tzrichu, we need all of them. The shrin and bayit, we should do bayit tzriuso. In house, we need to have a tzrius. So that's why I'm assuming he did not sell the pathway on his field. Meaning the owner of the house doesn't want anybody in his field. Anybody walking in his backyard or front yard. But to walk in the sod, you don't see this. Maybe the guy is more willing to give a pathway. If you walk on it, you're ruining the field. You're ruining the harvest. But a house, what do you care if someone goes through your backyard? So maybe that's the raya. In other words, we have here again svars of flying in the air. I don't want someone walking. I just have to maybe re-emphasize, tell you that a house and a field go together. So well, let me say, let's go to the next part. He sold somebody else. That's the next part of that same case of we're talking about a board, gas, and shevach. We said that's if he sold everything else but that. He says if he sold that, so then what? The kiva doesn't have to take a pathway. Why I need that? It's the exact flip side of the case. So you see that says the word no. The fact that this flip side of the case, I don't need to tell you. Because once I told you, that's what Rashbam points out over here. Once I told you that a bais and a sod they are equal. So, and you tell me one case, I know they were equal to both cases. Why did I tell you both cases in the Sadeh? The fact I tell you both cases in the Sadeh is to tell you I'm Yofa Moicher. Let's see the last Rashbam here in the Amud. We know it. Let's go one line down. Maybe I'll tell you, where I tell you the sefer? Tell you that the seller does have the time he's selling the pit. He did not sell the pathway because he doesn't want people walking in his field. To be ratio, the Ketania Moicher Sasode, Lo Moicher Sabor, the ratio, the Ketania Moicher Sasode, Lo Moicher Sabor, Lo Shavim Lo Rabban Gabisode. Tais Yusel, Tais Pichabadir. What do you know from the ratio? The ratio, we said, the one who bought it, he keeps for himself a pathway because Shas, I was supposed to get to the pit. But the Sefer, I want to tell you that you have Davshul. But you only saw the ratio, the Svar of Rebbe Kiva. Because what is Rab saying? Rab saying, why can I say that in the case of the field, in the ratio, I saw the Svaro, Rebbe Kiva holds Davshul, he says, I'm not selling you the pathway. I want to hold Prichel, I don't want to fly in the air. That's in the first case. In the opposite case, I don't know that. I want to tell you that I want to agree with that Svar by field as well. So he says, "Now you come with the Rabban Nami is to Aksva. We don't take Sefer Avamir the Moed Rabban Akiva then Tzur Lekach Derech to Lech Shit as Rit the Kart to Kalem Moed. I would say if not, then maybe Rabban don't agree with that Svar by a Sode. It says Lekach Lemach because everyone don't say that. The Kivin the Marin should have Sefer Shemin Akiva the Kashi Dasha Sode. Now after we found that we see in the ratio that according to Akiva Dasha is a problem. Be'ach Svar now Moed Rabban agree with that. They are allowed. They're not arguing, give her a button in Svarel. How the Yua is supposed to let the Lokach, he knows about the Dais Moichel. Kosher, you go based on the Lokach Svarel or the Moichel Svarel. But in terms of the problem, we agree. The Tulim Medius. What does Rebbe say? Rebbe saying, don't to come and make up a new Svarel and say, walking on the field is not good Gishrak, it ruins the field. That's only according to Rebbe Kiva. According to Rabbanan, we disagree with that. To make up this Svarel, we're not going to say. If I found according to Rebbe Kiva, you have the problem. According to Rabbanan, you also have the problem. The only thing Rabbanan say is you have a conflicting svara of the other side. The other side says, okay, but what about I don't want to fly in the air? What's a stronger one? So we say, you go based on the Moicher, based on the Lokach, when they have conflicting svaras. If I don't have conflicting svaras, so then the Shiloh is a good Shiloh. I don't know if I know for Moicher, I'm a Ruah Moicher. So says the Rashbam, we're not making new machlokes. So if according to Rebbe Kiva, walking in the field is a problem, according to Rabbanan is also a problem. So that's not new machlokes. The only machlokes is you go based on Das Lokach, Das Moicher. So once I know, the Rebbe Kiva won't argue that. And once I know in the beginning of the Mishnah that the Svar is a valid Svara, so now I know the Sefer automatically. I know Rabbanan will say the opposite in the Sefer. And they will use the same Svar that Rebbe Kiva said in the ratio. So why do you have to tell me the Sefer? To teach you that even without these Svaras, even without a conflicting Svaras of Lokach and Moicher, I always say that what? I always say, according to Rabbanan, Moicher be'ayin yofa Moicher, Moicher ba'ayin ruah Moicher, someone who sells is not so generous. And according to Rebbe Kiva, Moicher be'ayin yofa Moicher, he's very generous, and he always will sell more. Now, I don't know what he meant. He's always selling more. That's the makar. So according to this, what is the makar in Shas of this machlokes? It's not our Mishnah necessarily. It's our Mishnah together with we're going to learn the Einav and Mudav. Once you have both of them together, so now I know based on these two Mishnahs together, I have all four cases. I learned from there. Why didn't it tell me all of them? To tell you that the machlokes from Rabbanan and Rebbe Kiva is Moicher ba'an Yofa Moicher or Moicher ba'an Ruah Moicher. So we'll stop over here. Continue from the end of this daf in the next daf.